Animatronic stage shows were once a staple of family entertainment, blending cutting-edge robotics, music, and dining into an experience unlike any other. But was once a thriving industry has slowly faded into nostalgia, with only a handful of surviving examples left today. While names like Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater and Showbiz Pizza Place dominated this era, they weren't the only ones who sought to push the boundaries of animatronic entertainment. Hidden in the archives of a once great company lies a band that was ahead of its time, one that promised innovation, a bold new aesthetic, and a story that was as strange as it was ambitious. This is the rise and fall of the MoonRockers. Chapter 1: A concept ahead of its time. The story of the MoonRockers began at a pivotal moment in the animatronic entertainment industry. By the mid-1980s, the fierce rivalry between Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater and Showbiz Pizza Place was at its peak, with both chains battling relentlessly to attract families through pizza, arcade games, and mechanical stage shows. But by 1985, after multiple lawsuits, financial crises, and strategic missteps, Chuck E. Cheese filed for bankruptcy. Ironically, this became the perfect opportunity for their main competitor, Showbiz Pizza, which swiftly acquired Chuck E. Cheese, forming a new corporation, Showbiz Pizza Time, Inc. This merger drastically complicated things for Creative Engineering, the company behind the beloved Rock-afire explosion, Showbiz Pizza's star attraction. Aaron Fechter, founder of Creative Engineering, firmly held on to the exclusive rights to his animatronic characters, forcing Showbiz Pizza Time to create a new band, Munch's Make-Believe Band, reusing only the mechanical framework from the original characters. Amid this challenging and rapidly changing landscape, Creative Engineering urgently needed to diversify its offerings. In response, they introduced an entirely new concept, the MoonRockers, featuring fresh characters and a futuristic, space-themed narrative. The key idea was brilliantly simple: transform any existing Rock-afire explosion stage into a completely different show in under 20 minutes, a concept considered revolutionary in the industry at the time. The MoonRockers were not intended as just another restaurant attraction. Instead, they were an ambitious concept aimed directly at the growing teenage and young adult demographic.
Coming soon on cable, your stereo and TV unite to bring you video music in stereo 24 hours.
Eager for the latest trends in pop culture and music television. Narratively, the MoonRockers were peculiar yet perfectly suited to the era's obsession with space and science fiction. According to their official backstory, the band lived on a secret lunar base populated by quirky characters, each directly inspired by the members of the original Rock-afire explosion. Princess Haley, based on Mitzi Mozzarella, the charismatic lead vocalist. Quasar, modeled after Beach Bear, the rebellious intergalactic guitarist. Admiral Ort, inspired by Fats Geronimo, keyboardist and wise mentor of the group. Ozone, taking inspiration from Duke LaRue, the eccentric drummer. Rock Baby, Mole Gamma, based on Choo Choo, a friendly and adorable creature. Moonbat, Sismus, inspired by Antioch, responsible for physical comedy and comic relief. Musically, the MoonRockers featured original songs written by Bert Wilson, including catchy tunes like We're the MoonRockers and Cyclops Boogie. However, despite their appealing melodies and lyrics, the music style remains somewhat childish, sharply contrasting with the youthful and modern aesthetic the band aimed to project. This placed Creative Engineering awkwardly between two distinct audiences. On one hand, they hoped to appeal to teenagers and young adults influenced heavily by MTV. On the other, they remained tied to a familiar, child-oriented formula, although the technology behind the MoonRockers represented a significant advancement, particularly in terms of lip sync and movement synchronization. This conceptual contradiction immediately raised doubts about the project's commercial viability. While the band certainly had potential and sparked genuine curiosity, the lack of clear strategic direction quickly became evident. Creative Engineering found itself with an innovative product, but failed to precisely define its target audience or effectively market it. Soon enough, this confusion would start to exact a heavy toll on the ambitious MoonRockers project. Chapter 2: A Forced Landing. When Creative Engineering officially introduced the MoonRockers at the 1985 IAAPA convention in Atlanta, they expected to dazzle the entertainment industry. The debut performance, which featured a special live appearance by Shalissa Sloan, the original voice of Mitzi Mozzarella, initially captivated audiences with the visual charm and technical quality of the animatronics. A key aspect of the show was the creative and musical contribution of the composer, Bert Wilson, who crafted catchy, original songs perfectly aligned with the pop-rock style popular at the time. The music sparked immediate interest, but also raised certain questions. Although the technical quality of the performance received widespread recognition, it failed to translate into significant commercial deals. Family restaurants considered the MoonRockers concept too risky and strange for their typical customers, while other potential buyers simply struggled to find a place for it within their business models. Even with the promised quick transformation capabilities, the high costs and logistical complexities deterred possible investors. Ironically, the band's greatest selling point, the advanced technology and ease of changing shows, ultimately became an unexpected commercial barrier. Despite Creative Engineering's obvious efforts, the market simply wasn't ready or willing to assume the costs and uncertainties associated with this innovative yet unproven concept. Meanwhile, Creative Engineering's situation worsened significantly when Showbiz Pizza Time Inc. decided to completely sever its relationship with Fechter's company, permanently eliminating any opportunity for the MoonRockers to access this critical commercial platform. Thus, the innovative space-themed band designed by Dave Thomas, musically crafted by Bert Wilson, and technologically supported by Aaron Fechter's earlier work, found itself completely isolated from any viable commercial opportunity. Without restaurants interested, without television channels willing to promote them, and with a market that had clearly moved on, the MoonRockers simply had nowhere left to launch. This failure not only marked the immediate commercial disappearance of the band, but also signaled the beginning of a profound crisis for Creative Engineering. Chapter 3. After the Fall. The Decline of Creative Engineering. The situation for Creative Engineering and Aaron Fechter had now become extremely delicate. With the MoonRockers project unable to attract investors or buyers, and the definitive loss of their contract with Showbiz Pizza Time Inc., things took an even darker turn. Shortly after the failure of the MoonRockers concept, Creative Engineering found itself burdened with massive amounts of unsold inventory. Dozens of animatronic figures, costumes, complete robotic frameworks, and even entire stage sets sat unused and without clear purpose. The dream of revolutionizing the industry with a band targeted at teenage audiences had become a logistical and financial nightmare. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, the company faced severe economic hardships. Creative Engineering, which just a few years earlier had led the animatronic entertainment industry, was now in a desperate situation. The market had dramatically shifted, and the company struggled to adapt quickly enough to survive. Complicating matters further, Aaron Fechter continued to fiercely protect the intellectual property rights of his original Rockafire Explosion characters. While admirable from a creative standpoint, this decision isolated him commercially. Meanwhile, the Chuck E. Cheese brand continued expanding successfully with its new Munch's Make-Believe band, and Creative Engineering struggled to find significant new customers for their shows. During this period, smaller projects and new concepts were attempted, such as creating custom animatronics for independent establishments, but none recaptured the former glory or impact. Even the MoonRockers themselves, despite their technological innovation and creative potential, ended up forgotten and stored away in warehouses. The Creative Engineering factory, once filled with energy, innovation, and talented staff, gradually became desolate and abandoned. The employee count, once over 300 at the company's peak, dramatically dwindled, eventually leaving only a handful of individuals trying desperately to keep the original dream alive. Aaron Fechter also tried various initiatives outside of the animatronic field to keep the company afloat. One of the most notable attempts was the Anti-Gravity Freedom Machine, an innovative yet costly electronic device designed to send digital messages long before the widespread adoption of email. Unfortunately, just as Fechter introduced this promising device, the internet rapidly emerged, offering similar communication features without requiring specialized equipment. In other words, creative engineering once again found itself arriving too early to a great idea that failed to connect with the right market. Soon, the company that had revolutionized family entertainment with Rockafire Explosion and had attempted to redefine it with the MoonRockers was left in ruins. Without new buyers or significant contracts, creative engineering teetered on the brink of disappearance. By the mid-1990s, the facility housing the company's most iconic creations stood nearly empty. Hundreds of animatronic characters, including the MoonRockers, remained abandoned, gathering dust and slowly deteriorating, becoming eerie relics of a once glorious but now distant era. Aaron Fechter, once celebrated as a pioneer and visionary of animatronics, was forced to drastically reduce his operations, maintaining only basic activities focused on preserving and maintaining his creations. The fall of the MoonRockers marked more than just the failure of a futuristic animatronic band. It symbolized the harsh reality of a company that bet too high at precisely the wrong moment, unable to adapt to rapidly changing market conditions and ever-evolving audience expectations. Yet, despite this harsh outcome, the story of the MoonRockers wasn't entirely over. Their legacy, although much quieter than that of more famous animatronic bands, would continue to live on in unexpected and surprising ways. Chapter 4: Quiet Legacy, Controversies, and an Unexpected Revival. For decades, the MoonRockers seemed destined to be forgotten entirely. Following their commercial failure in the 1980s, these characters were left abandoned, gathering dust inside the nearly empty warehouse of Creative Engineering in Orlando, Florida. However, in the internet era, few things remained forgotten forever. The rise of digital platforms like YouTube allowed animatronic enthusiasts and nostalgic fans to rediscover forgotten bands and unfinished projects, including the MoonRockers. Suddenly, homemade videos showcasing old prototypes, lost presentations, and previously unseen materials began to circulate online, gradually rescuing both Creative Engineering and its Rockafire Explosion from obscurity. One of the most surprising catalysts behind this revival was the appearance in 2014 of our beloved horror game, Five Nights at Freddy's. This independent franchise, which featured sinister animatronics and dark scenarios clearly inspired by restaurants like Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz Pizza, sparked massive curiosity about the real-life stories behind these mechanical entertainers. Thousands of new fans thus inadvertently discovered the complete history of Aaron Fechter and Creative Engineering, bringing renewed attention to fascinating yet failed projects, such as the MoonRockers. Thanks to this digital resurgence, characters like Billy Bob, Mitzi Mozzarella, and yes, even the forgotten MoonRockers found a new life through nostalgia and fascination with a technological past that's both eerie and undeniably captivating. Yet this renewed digital spotlight also brought increased scrutiny upon Aaron Fechter himself, who, over time, became a complex and, according to numerous online opinions, controversial figure. While it's not our aim here to judge or provide a personal opinion about Fechter, it's important to note that many people have expressed conflicting views about his legacy, business decisions, and his handling of the late-stage fame gained by his creation. For example, in 2013, an incident further complicated his public image. An accidental explosion at the Creative Engineering factory, reportedly caused by an experimental fuel Fechter was personally developing. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured, but the incident caused significant damage to the facility and led many online observers to question his working methods, some labeling them reckless or irresponsible. These incidents, combined with various personal controversies discussed by fans and critics on social media, have made it a challenge for Fechter to fully capitalize on the positive attention his creations have garnered online. Nevertheless, controversies and personal issues aside, one fact remains indisputable. Aaron Fechter and Creative Engineering left an indelible mark on the animatronic entertainment world. Their legacy is still celebrated by generations of fans, engineers, and artists who recognize Rockafire Explosion and the MoonRockers as significant technological and cultural milestones, deserving recognition beyond any controversy. Today, Creative Engineering remains active, although on a significantly reduced scale. Aaron Fechter continues to keep the memory of his iconic characters alive through his YouTube channel, sharing old recordings, experimental new projects, and updates on restored animatronics. In these videos, one can still clearly see the fascinating and somewhat unsettling potential that made his characters famous over 30 years ago. Ultimately, the story of the MoonRockers and creative engineering teaches us something essential. Technological innovation, groundbreaking ideas, and talent don't always guarantee commercial success. Yet sometimes, even in failure, one can uncover an extraordinary legacy that persists far longer than anyone expected. Perhaps the MoonRockers never managed to conquer MTV or capture the teenage audience as Aaron Fechter dreamed, but today, thanks to the internet and digital culture, their story remains alive, resonating with all who find these space-themed animatronics impossible to forget. And that, in the end, might just be the greatest accomplishment an intergalactic robot band could ever hope to achieve.